I could be delighted to be here. Thank you so much to RB and Amanda. I will say that the Sage 32 community is an incredible resource for everybody and for the thought leaders and the community as well. It's an incredible networking and haven't yet, and I highly recommend going to Sage 32. As Amanda mentioned, we have a fabulous lineup of panelists who are Sage 32 educators, Sage 32 thought leaders. So hello and welcome to Amy Baer and Lee Broda, executive producers of The Apprentice. Congratulations for yesterday evening's celebration and rapturous reception, I understand. I'm sure it was fun. Yeah, huge congratulations. Tiffany Boyle, producer with her film also in competition O Canada with Tiffany. Sara Elizabeth Timmins, who is producer, founder, producer, right? Life Out Loud Films. So, our philosophical film question is stream or not stream. So, let's start, Amy, if you wouldn't mind, looking at the strategies that we can employ for success at the moment, looking at whether or not you would pre-sale your distribution rights. When and how do you decide if that's a strategy that you're going to employ? And I guess at what point are you making that consideration?
Well, first of all, thank you very much, Stage 30 School. Really happy to be here and all of today. This is actually my very first Cannes Film Festival experience after being in the business for well over 30 plus years. So it's been really fun to be here in competition and great. So I had a unique perspective on it, and I spent the first 21 years of my career in the studio. And I've spent the last 12 plus years as an independent producer. And I was just having this conversation. I was talking to some of our colleagues on The Apprentice. And the reality is right now that there's way more creative freedom to use. So it's way harder, right? It's harder because you have to go out there and think about outlet. I think that right now, there still is a very big need for content. There's still, despite all what you hear about the consolidations and the entrenchments, everybody wants to content on the planet one side. Question is who's going to pay for it? And that's where I think the retrenchment is, which is you're seeing fewer and fewer big studios put things into development, kinds of movies, a number of movies they're going to make on their slate. But they're always looking for finished film. In some ways, it's a lot easier for them now, more than ever, because the risk is mitigated because they know in most cases it's been sold for it. So I think that to get back to the original question, I think that the decision of it has to be made with the content itself. It's not really like, oh, we're shooting at the studios first and then go sell my corn, but it really is what kind of movie is this? And that kind of movie and who the audience is for it really starts to determine the path it is set out of. See, you'll look at the show that was used that they take what the audience is that. Yeah, I say this to anybody who will listen to me ad nauseam. That is, if you're a film producer or even a screenwriter and you don't know these audiences largely, nobody else does. So the first thing you have to be crystal clear on is what is your intention? Who is the audience? Who are you trying to reach? And there is always an audience for everything, but there isn't. It has to be very specific, right? Whether you're making an adult movie, whether you're making a porn film, whether you're making a family film, you can't just not know who it's for and hope that somebody figures it out. So it has to start with you thinking about what is this project, who is it for, what is the genre, what is the central budget range, and that determines a lot what the next step is. Cut and cut the same question, and they say teach to bring my boy out each side and with even like the word light, then to say to you front tempty in terms of banner. So it says is this organ machine been millions out line very different less pretty's my things. Okay. It's there. Chef. Hi everyone. So for us, for my company really, because we do a lot of development and produce and finance, and some of the movies we generate, some of the music come on board later on as financiers, and we see a lot of packages. And I think for me, the way we choose projects is really driven by cast these days. So we help structure the financing according to the value of the package. So a lot of the times, like you said, we're going to keep the world open. We just gonna put equity in against the world because we know that if we take it to the market at an early stage, some of these territories are not going to sell for the actual value that they're worth because of the genre. Let's say with dramas these days, it's really hard in certain territories. Asia, there's, especially even the big territories, there used to be a no-brainer ones like France and UK and Germany. Now you're having conversations with buyers and we're like, we want to see footage. When in the past, they were like the first ones to jump in and actually pay pretty good amount of money for pre-buy. So I think it's really dictated by the genre and the cast itself, and obviously the overall package, because the market is all so driven these days by directors, which is really great because we're seeing packages with no cast yet that still have pretty strong value dictated by the creatives. So we just look at really at the estimates and also what are the alternatives, because with the streamers these days, Apple, for example, you need a world of 10 in order to sell that, to sell to that. And if you want to keep them as an actual distributor, then you can sell it later on. You can't really take it to the foreign market. There are certain buyers that now produce their own movies. They used to be the ones paying the most or buying. So the competition is also is really at its big challenge. So I think it's a combination again of like a gut feeling as well, because we see a lot, and we would also make sure that we track maybe projects so we didn't put financing in, but how they did, to compare the reaction of the market and what was the right thing. Because a lot of the times when you go at an early stage, you might get a better number when you go later on with footage, if the footage is right. So that's also a risk. You really need to believe in the package and deliver something good. Because if you go back after you introduce something to the market at an early stage and then come back with something that is not great, the chance at the beginning of that number, the one you initially had, are very slim. So, yeah, at least the combination of the creative elements and I think also the budget. There's certain buttons that you just can't hold back to international. There's no way you can get them made without selling the foreign territories. So I think it just depends on the budget genre and the package itself. So you need as by the finance and that case, it just wouldn't work in. Yeah, you have no choice. Like we are doing now a movie, a little bit slit under 10 million, but it's very rare because it's all equity. But it's hard to raise equity these days because you have the lenders now that are making the same premium that are your equity investors. So what is the incentive for an investor to come in and put money in if whoever sits in front of them is actually making more money than they are and taking less risk than they are? So I think you really need to believe there's an upside to the package so the investor is actually going to benefit from the back end and the movie as a way to break through and actually make real money, either by, a pre-buy, not a pre-buy, by a buyout of the streamers or play theatrical, which is getting something harder and harder these days, at least to predict. and you're probably going to touch it later on, but just what's available and how distributors are approaching, I think, the strategy of their distribution also, that I think some of it needs a lot of innovation these days, because it's not as, I think it doesn't fit every movie. And it's, I think the same study sometimes apply to every movie, which I think is problematic. So, like targeted writing and that foundation cited as I didn't hear on in these decide these using its head. Doing it and we big minds that feel things community successfully multi police scans students I live with and so stuff. I'm sorry, I can't read how you like it. You put that night other than yeah, and then she actually not the presidency, it's a the essentially the with the fight and the short rejects. And the way it would make the advantages and disadvantages. So in the sense that if that's used as just months too, I mean you to that they can see that the barkers of their best unusually does. Teaching.
Yeah. Can everybody hear me? Okay. Yeah, so I always say that to a certain extent when you're getting involved, if you're thinking about having a film that does a theatrical, to a certain extent, I think that you need to trust your distributor to tell you if your film warrants a theatrical. I know that some people just have their heart set on it, and I understand why, but there is a reason why they're not taking that risk. And if they're not taking that risk, you need to think about why that is. And sometimes you can go find P&A, and there are those, it's not that there's not those outliers that do have a nice breakout. But I do think that like my suggestion when people ask me questions like that is, what is the distributor saying and how would they take it out? And then sometimes people do decide to do what I frankly call a vanity release, which is basically like, I just really want a theatrical and I don't care if we get more in the hole with P&A because it's important to me. And that's okay too, but you just need to go in eyes wide open and be able to decide what's best for you and your film and why you're doing this. Because some people, they're a first-time director and it's just important for them to have that ability to say that. And sometimes it's more about the financial commitment where you have to look at the numbers and say, is this going to occur via the lock tutor in the long? And a lot of the time to be your point, right? Like, it can be worth a loss leader again, in my opinion, if the distributor says what, and then because it hit a certain amount of theaters where now you can have that replacement, if it, things like that. And so asking them those questions as well.
To come get, if you not take some minutes, it's saying it, maybe in a visit and see. Can you see? What they just get suggestions for names? You said, but she said you wasn't to secure. We had sessions upfront financing from this team versus like the back end teams. Years in before you get to like what's a pro. Yeah, so in terms of secure financing, as you mentioned, that's a treat that if it's a help has to give finance then he can get funding hashtag things with that versus maybe a more challenge would be afterwards attribute to financing and thinking about these opportunities. Why do we? I think that Lee Acme is a great case in point, which is the movie people are here for, which is The Apprentice. So I developed scripts and Ali Abbasi, who has already had 2 films in piano prior to this, he had just made Border. I loved the film. We attached him to the project. If we went to a couple of studios, and that's been this one, and setting aside check that was empty. Everybody felt like it was so good that director, he really needed feeling that they saw. They wanted to put, he wasn't like, with his yes, it's a good script, yes, we believe in him, but given the nature of it, period gone on, we didn't have any cast at the time. So we did die. And the answer from the marketplace, actually, so what we're saying with, and you have to kind of listen to what the feedback is. was get some more information attached to this before we can take a serious look at it. And so it as an amount like how to build a relationship with rocket science. I had worked with that team previously when I ran a different company. Ali decided to go with them. So Warren, they were ready to pre-raise was applying for the budget. And they decided to be in Tiffany in Toronto without them being cast attached. And it sort of becomes a virtuous cycle, right? It starts to sell you a tithe, and it starts to attract cast, and realize that it's more real, which helps you sell your porn. So it's a little bit about the active title. But then when we were starting production, to bring with Canada, which had a lot of great speed-based meeting folks around me. But our producer, our feature Dan Beckerman, the high rate one month and everything. Those weeks at how that and how it felt and then
yeah, the movie came to us. Initially, we talked probably a year and a half ago, when it was in a different kind of structure and with one investor, I think that, and then it came to us again later under production, and he came to us with a very interesting structure. It wasn't a no-brainer. The equity was a little bit on the risky side, but it had a real opportunity for this movie to break through. And I think that's what's important to talk about is movies these days, and I think the ones that you see have a theatrical success are either event movies or conversation starters or something really new that we haven't seen before. And certain movies don't hit that well anymore because,
and I think this movies is a conversation starter, something that people will talk about and something that see before, and I think that's really what makes the difference. So we really believe in that and came on board later on as equity
financiers to support the movie and really bet on the domestic.
Because the fault was already sold at the foreign side
by Rocket Science, which we had a good experience with last year with May December. We had a good partnership with them, and so we really believed our numbers, and we believed that this movie has a place in the market, and there's an audience for it. So this is really how we got involved with the project, and that's what I mean also with innovation, right? We want to find a partner that will believe in it, that knows how to get it out there, that it's not going to get lost with everything in theaters, especially with studios. And you were talking about like, what are your options as independent producers? And I've been a part of probably about 70 films, and to be honest, all of them were independently kind of put together. The buyers and the streamers come later on, and it's really hard. Everyone wants to see something today, and it's so it's really up to you as a producer to know how to raise the financing and how to understand how to put it together that it's attractive for independent financiers to want to come on board and take the risk and go on this journey with you. Without really knowing the end result, right? Because you can have a movie here, like even last year as example, really big films that didn't sell for any MG, which means they're going to go theatrically and let's see what happens with a lot of money that is sitting against domestic. And for someone that brings a lot of equity into movies, that's really scary that you don't really know where your movie's going to land and what is the result. So I think for this one, we feel like it was a little bit of a no-brainer because Ali's a brilliant filmmaker, and obviously you developed a really great package and brought together really talented people. So I think it takes more than just a director these days or just cast to make a really great song.
To getting sense. That goes on because insights and it and we fingers in seeing the subject of the Tracksman is student back for bonus and Hannibal has in activities reason she says she gets trains and swung out of her balloons and sit leap says on the funny about so how
Sorry, I couldn't hear all of that. Yeah, it's like a little windy. It's hard.
And the tension at the singing of villages. They're a great track, good chance of inside of how they gave out sick. How does that impact intending producers and do you get that something you like things
I see it daily. So by day, I work at an entertainment law firm, and we represent producers and financiers. So it's something that like a lot of our clients are dealing with. It's a problem that all of them are like feeling in some way. I think that it's impacting them in the sense that they're having a hard time. Often, they're having a hard raising financing because even if they have good cash, we can't bank anymore on being able to get that sale
at the end, but the stream of it's like of those thing numbers, and a lot of it's finding the distributors are only lose out to those streamers, or either say like I can't get backing as much as I used to. But that was happening a lot last year. The good news is I think that like some of them are kind of coming back and opening their doors more, but they're being very much more
specific, and they're taking on less right now than they were a while ago. So I'm seeing that a lot of them are having super strategic about selling foreign, and foreign is also having the same problem. I'm hearing it happening in Italy. Like one of the lead guy in Italy just pulled out of like all of their deals. So a lot of them like don't have deals with Sky anymore. They don't know how to play Sky. They don't know how to back it first. It's happening in Germany. It's happening in UK. So I do think it's happening out of territories, not all. And a lot of Americans don't have help those international aspects quite yet. But I think the way to kind of mitigate it and the way to help it is to talk to your sales agent. That I talk to your sales agents before you shoot, or at least talk to some friends, sales agents before you shoot. Say, okay, what do you really trying to get? Which territory am I actually going to sell? So big on selling the world. That's usually not realistic. And then also making sure that like you're just
files is a really good story.
so we, it's really about making sure that you're making a good project. That's something that people who are saying in a fresh way. And yes, the cast help.
But I do think that there is something growing out of it now, and it was the one student.
What is the story? How are people going to react?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I think in addition to making a good story and doing your homework and almost reverse engineering as to what is selling, what are the distributors looking for, I think for a lot of independent filmmakers, you don't have the luxury to maybe either have the cast to do pre-sales at the start, or you're having to, and because of that, you're doing all private equity. So for our several films, we were in a position of one of the things we really had to focus on is how we build our audience so that when the film is done, yes, we have a great product. Yes, we have great cast, but we can also show the sales agents, distributors that we've, throughout the course of the process, built an audience strategically, maybe from a grassroots initiative, to be able to show them that there is an audience, and that's like an additional thing in the package that I think you would have in your back pocket to kind of gain that attention. Whether it is a social media campaign, whether it's impact, whether it's linking with people that already have your audience, whether it be if it's cause-based, an organization, national organization, or even cast and celebrities that also champion your cause. But I think that also adds to the package when you're going to market in the end, if that's when you're doing this whole process, to be able to say, okay, I can show you, I can demonstrate that we have built this audience. Here's the numbers. I could get this also helps kind of lean them in your direction.
Bring the process to the ratings, the being subtling to showings that have all your sons and sales agents and work. And on the system.
I don't think sales agents are going to pay a ton of attention unless you have like something IP based, or true story based or something like that. I don't think a lot of them are going to pay much attention until you at least have a director. But then I think it's worth at least having conversations with them. Again, in a friendly way, not in like I'm attaching you right now with. It's kind of like, what do you think of this? What do you think of the director? Which cast do you think makes sense for this? At what level? And that way you're going into a bit more knowledge based, but not committing, because you may want to like see how some of that pans out before you commit to anybody as well.
I also think it's important to have conversations with more than one sales agent. sales happening. It's important to kind of triangulate the evaluation and marketplace, and also to really take the marketplace seriously. Like it's a movie, you get a filmmaker, and you talk to 2 or 3 sales companies, and they're all telling you a version of the same thing. There's probably a reason why. Like if the director you're so happy in love with is a first-time filmmaker, and they're telling you, wait, with that first-time filmmaker, or you say I use a $25 million movie. And they say, well, realistically speaking, what we're seeing right now, we're really going to get closer to 12 to 15. You have to listen to that. Doesn't mean it's gospel, but the marketplace does speak in a very consistent, generalized way. And you will make your experience a lot less torturous. And we all know how difficult it is to do and do. But trying to buck against where the information is that you're constantly getting, this is not going to be the easiest way forward. I mean, we're a very intangible business, right? It's in business. We believe in money, but it's also about creative. And Lee and I are living this right now in a movie where, you could make the argument for it and as to why there's not audience. And Lee feel very strongly there is, and right, your reasons why. So there's always the intangible creative thing. I believe in this, and I have seen this through, and I want to get this to me. But I think from the sales perspective, particularly with the pouring sales, listen generally before you admit, as Tiffany is saying, but take the information seriously. Filter it through what the plan is that you're building, because it will make it a lot easier in the long run if you implement that or listen to that. And so, if it's a first-time filmmaker and you feel very committed, you better beat that losing for very little money. As an example, it's just, you don't have to blow by everything you have with that, just giving motivation, but the feeling it and seriously and filter through for your intention about this.
I know the art of cinema says this TPC of the it's just as a different stages in increase, I say. Where if they have those stability and its images to teams, actions that vary over time, raises yes, you start to find information or comparison stuff and the database relationships again and have market information so they're not just any penny they see that and mad.
I think from a very beginner standpoint, the best place now, I think has a lot of good information on it is Fernando.com. I don't know who's used it or not, but you can literally look up different companies in different territories, see who's buying what, and they'll sometimes even have like little graphs and everything like that. Doesn't mean it's always like super accurate in that way, but I think that that's a really good resource for if you're just kind of starting and you don't know where to start. And then I think it's attending festival, attending market, getting in the room, and even if it's like a quick at the end of the festival or end of the market, trying to say hi and put yourself out there. A lot of them will meet with filmmakers, but you have to just be like catch them sometimes at the right time, and don't bother them in their early part because they'll be kind of going crazy. Towards the end is when they're usually more receptive to kind of meeting with producers.
And that is what I think. That's another way that I think can be really useful. I know about producers have gotten a relationship journey. I will say that back in 2008, I did the whole AFM, went to every door, talked to everybody. But I spent, it was a year before we made our first film.
What ended up happening is through those relationships, and I finally got a sense of who I really wanted to work with. On our first film, once we were complete, I already engaged people that were interested, wanted to see the product. And then I think we invited 13 people to a private screening, 12 showed up, and we had offers of some kind with everybody there. And that was because of ASM. But I think it could be very overwhelming. And that's not so. I mean, that's kind of part of that as well. You can find the same people, but I think you have to be specific. You don't want to go to everybody. What is your genre? What is your budget range? Who's actually working in that budget range? Are they really distributing content like yours? You don't want to be the most amazing film they have, but then do they have relationships with the quality of buyers that you want? But it also can might not be anywhere. All the films are much
greater action here. I can get informed. That's a lot of things that you need to look at as you're kind of looking at the distributors to find the right person, and go to IFTA as another great resource.
Because if you can find out if people have had litigation or they've been sued and kind of what the reputation is. Are they honest? So it's going to take a lot of homework on your part. And then I also say they'll all give you names of people to call, but they're going to give you the people that have had the best experience with them. So I think go to people that have repeat producers, and then they've had a good experience and they're going back. But also self-empathy to call people up and producers and work with and just say, what is your experience like? Is this a good cut to your project? So
and settling in things and stages I going that as well. And I actually left that that's really fully willing pray and I seen specs. Can we share you something that identifying selling the sales agent in the web, but how do you generate the ways of doing these auditing effective successfully in terms of the data analysis where it wasn't feature trick piece twists or I say getting that real or went through the analysis that he was now there connect places and head to smart ones 6 months.
So like Sarah said, be specific. So I think from my experience, it's just like really about the genre and the type of budget and the relationship that they have. And it just takes time to really know who to work with. And at the end of the day, it's who are really passionate about your project and who doesn't have something similar that they're selling as well. Because you don't want a sales agent to have, let's say, 3 movies that are the same with a certain amount of budget and genre. You want them to be focused on this and be pushing all of that. And a lot of the times, some sales agents now put their own financing into things or produce as well. So it becomes a little bit tricky
for producers to make sure we like the attention they need on that film. So like it's like a lot could really understand asking questions.
And also, I will say, not just sales agents, but start developing relationships with buyers. I sit with buyers all the time. I told buyers,
because like, I'm producing this movie right now. I'm doing this package together with this cast. Are you responding to this? Are you buying? And what stage are you buying? Because a lot of times you're going to get estimates from sales agents. And you're looking at the numbers and like, I don't think this is accurate. And you really don't think this is one bit dead. And it's a business in the end, and people want to get their packet. So then sometimes people tell you things to want to hear. And it's up to you to really do the due diligence and know if this is real. Because you're going to go where it's financing based on their numbers.
And I'm sure we've all seen it. Sometimes they'll hit 50% of their takes. And you're like, where is that number that you told me I'm going to get for this territory or this sales sheet that you gave me that now is like half? They got sliced in half. And then you have to go to your investors and say, I'm sorry, but you're going to lose 50% of your money because someone gave you a number that is not really what is the reality of the market. So I think it's just experience. And I think that's why I think speaking to buyers directly is also important, because some sales agents kind of dump certain things into their relationships. And there might be other buyers there that will pay more, but it just kind of on automatic. So there's movies that like I wasn't happy with the results on what the sales agent did. And I went to buyers and I was like, have you seen this movie? Because this is my film. I want to make sure it got to you.
And sometimes it is that I was like, can you look at it? And I'll send them a link and I'll make sure if they make an offer in the territory that I'm step change. And my dad told me,
we didn't sell that territory. And I was like, well, here, talk to the buyer. I found you a buyer. Like, here, just deliver this movie, close the deal. But like, you just have to be, I think, I don't know what's the word, but like, you just can't say yes to everything they tell you. And you have to really do your own due diligence and work harder, because it sucks. Because like, I think producers, and I'm more executive producer more than I produce, but so a lot of the producers, we've been with movies for years, right? Like, work so hard. Usually producers get their fees deferred and being squeezed the most. And like, we have to do more than just produce now. We have to go sell the movie and have to go figure it out, like have to find the right partner for it. And they're just, and sometimes raise P&A, like have a movie now. that we're struggling a little bit to find the right sales agency because of the political climate and the package that we ended up, getting together for it. That the market has shifted and it's not as attractive as we thought 2 years ago when we shot it. And now we're gonna go raise P&A. And I haven't done it before. I never self-distributed. We always have a sales agent in the US to sell it and put it with the right distributor. But I have to go learn how to self-distribute a movie now. So, because I'm responsible for the financing and I want to make sure this movie gets out there in the world because I also spent 2 years on it and we're proud of it. So I think, I don't know if I answer the question, but
Yeah, I can add one thing to that, which is there's no stupid question here. And if we really get to understand what the finance plan is that a foreign sales agent is talking about, I mean, as I said at the beginning, I worked in a studio system for 20 plus years, and I'd still ask you those questions. When we go for the finances and the apprentice, I was asking a lot of people, how does this work? What is territory? Why these numbers? When we had a cap, how are we going to fill that cap? How is it work? Where is the equity synergy? What does the waterfall look like? Those questions are not stupid. They are essential for you guys to have an understanding of how your movie is being put together so that you have not a control. There's so many things that we are out of control in here. The one thing you can't have control when it comes to this process is understanding the model. And I think sometimes a mistake that gets made is you find a sales agent and you think, oh, great, they'll take care of it. And as he just said, they give you all his numbers if they're going to take it to a market and sell it, and then they come back to 50% of it, and you're like, oh, wait a minute. So make sure you ask those questions. They're not stupid questions. That if you're with a sales company that doesn't really want to give you specific answers, I would say go my freelance.
I think so specific takeaways that you both had, which nailed it, is distributors are going to want a great film, and there's some that are going to tell you what you want to hear. So I see filmmakers say for the state of going, oh, well, these sales projections are the best ones, and then go with that individual. But shoot, they're just numbers, and offend who has the reputation to deliver their numbers. You need to find that out by seeing on the phone. But also know that what's on the paper is we just can't make your decisions based on that. And then Amy Baer, someone use that, I think, as a producer at that release stage, it's up to you to be an active part and know that you are the whistlers. You feel like they're going to listen to you. They're going to include you in on some of the decisions and how it's going to be marketed. So that confidently it takes away from you, but does not keep you a part of it because you know your audience and you're involved better than anyone else. Like they'd be excited at thinking that it's better to get and make magic happen. But sometimes you have to fail on that.
Sorry, one more thing. I also think that you can use other entities as a resource. Like I'm in the lucky position where I work at a law firm and we get to see a lot of the reports coming in. So even if I wasn't heavily involved in a project, I can literally see all of the sales done. So I have more data than a lot of people. And I think that you can also use other reps for things like that, right? Like Phonetic probably has that same type of information. WME, UTA, a lot of the agencies, Submarine. So I think those are other options you can use for digging on that front too.
I would like to come back sitting there. And then it's just come back and touched in, and it was sweet, and it's also her experience. And how can we use science or bringing the aid finance and rapidly the families and aiming finance and distribution stores. In terms of it's like social distancing duties, like theatricals.
Yeah, so my first several films, we did them all privately, which does not advisable, but I didn't know anything brand and we didn't think any results we couldn't just understand that these films have been able to use the thing you would have to make a highest quality film possible with the lowest cash out. We spent on a lot of grants. We applied for, we took a lot of donations and like up with organizations that just the virtue of our film getting made was a calling card, was a brochure for that. It brought awareness to their issues, even though it wasn't a documentary, it was in your project. And then also in that process, we always turned out the box, like filling our audience. Like I know in our first film, like we finally did a half a sale day with the end, but we said, look, we want to hold back all DVD sales within 60 miles of this community that we shot the film. And then I went and pre-sold to a very reputable store in the area. We got $50,000 ran away back in our pocket because we did special communities that everybody in the area wanted because we're part of it, because it's a place locally we can reach that audience or where they furiously. There's the way that our sales agent did very well for us and brought in a lot of brand sales hands to that stick and job on Hallmark. But we immediately had money coming back in. Not only did we cut our costs, so we had money in the back end through those DVD sales. We did our own theatrical release, so we were bringing money in for all the screenings that we did privately. So I think sometimes that is your option to then be able to make your investors happy. Of course, that way they invest in the next film. But again, you're the only person being these passionate about your project. So how do you display that to them, to the buyers at the end? We will as the only way to any questions that I it's just you like have either be question instead. Is it possible that I could pay for the independent GSM to survive and make a living? And it's a massive person. And that's we've picked the way given the caliber of these principal lanes to say on PKs. We just get out and voice it to that. I'm saying, do talk to it, so at the minute, to math. Your advice leaves that to a bit, like a bit of hang.
Okay, so I think it's exceedingly difficult to make a living as a three-pillar producer, sir, to be really honest. It doesn't mean you can't do it, won't be successful, but I think it is harder than it's ever been active to make a viable living as being an infers. Wow. But the flip side of it is, you don't need much to get instant losses, right? You do it from anywhere, with almost no infrastructure, and the only thing that matters in an producer is, do you have the material that people want to read, want to cafe themselves to, want to find story? That is it. So in order to develop the material or to get access to good IP, you just need to be wild. You need to be able to talk to writers that you have relationships with, young writers that are looking to build their career, that you read and you say, oh, my access is a really talented, original voice. I want to work with them, develop it. And you read a book you love, go call the agent for their author to say, I'd love to get the attachment agreement and see if I can find a way to put this together. You don't need a lot of infrastructure and resources to do it, but you also just need to be realistic about how extremely difficult it is becoming to be an independent producer. It's actually something that is being talked about a lot, certainly in Hollywood. I don't know how many of you are aware of what's going on right now. There's a full movement in Hollywood where the producers to unionize. Just to give a little bit of context to that, in the 1980s, it was a U.S. federal agency that said the producers were not employees, they were managers, and they're ready to unionize. And that has been a problem for producers for the past 40 years. And the Producers Guild of America is basically a trade organization. It's not a union. And there is finally a group of very, very high-end, highly successful producers who frankly don't need this support, who are rallying to get the studios and the streamers to start taking this very seriously on behalf of producers. So it is beginning to turn. I think there's a real awareness. I think there was also an awareness with all the labor strikes last year, that the only group that wasn't represented at the table were the producers. Everybody else was at the table, and the producers are not the producers, and even for the purpose of the strike of the studio. Saying, I need their little attorney type for people in Hollywood realizing that what we do is so unique and important, and the least represented in the ecosystem in a sort of meaningful, formal way. So I think that what you have to be is just very realistic about look how you can get started and understand the time it will take. The other thing I will say to all of you, and the BD touched on this for a second, do not allow yourself to be squeezed financially. Though everybody's get paid, producers are always the first ones that are asked to cut their fees, defer their fees, share their fees. And you do the work. You have every right to be paid for your work. And maybe it's important to you. You stake your breath in. It's please us. There's a podcast called The Town. The Town. That I would suggest every week listen to. There's a particular one touching on, specifically. And they get into, data points. I think it's like the 1970s, there was like this before everybody to get settlement fees of $25,000.
And that amount hasn't changed since the 70s. So you can imagine like how hard that is on producers, right? And so I would suggest listening to that. But I echo everything Amy's saying. And I think a lot of the time there are people that have to take extra jobs and then kind of produce when they can and go in and out. I am one of those people. But I also think it's super rewarding. And so you just have to go with like what's best for you.
I have two quick things. One is I think you have a lot of projects. So 2 years ago, I said, focus on one. Really focus on it, and it'll get further down the line. But now I feel like those are project like 12 years ago, put it on the back burner, and now there's a need for it. So like you always have to, as a producer, to make it have a bunch of things that can be their IP that you have access to, or that you can developing, so that when the time comes that that's the next hot thing and people want it, you have something. And then the other thing that we just shifted for those of you that are going the more into route of raising your own money together on structured equity investor. We used to say investors get them back first, then they get like 20% for return, then do a 50-50 split. And now, because it's so hard to get to that point that you as a producer get a war cut, we're actually now just going to like a 90, a 90-10 or an 80-20 model where every dollar that comes in, we are taking credit because it might not ever get to that back end. So that's something to the study doing that I would suggest. I will also add, because it's a hard time, and I'll for Amy, but it's also an industry that has so much money. And the art producers are making a lot of money still. And I will say, if you're a creative producer, learn how to ring fine. So you are responsible for your good destiny, know how to get a project off the ground. Because for my company, it's actually been a really great time. We're doing long episode we ever done, and in a really humble way. But like it took me many years to get there. But I think we're diversified. We're doing slow movies, indie movies, drama, but we're doing really big like action comedies and things that are more commercial. And I think the reason why we're doing so many movies is because I think taste is one thing, but also because knowing how to find equity these days when it's so hard is really what makes all the difference. And I think also as a producer, something that I've been working on the last years is I'm getting development money early on. If like we're spending money on location scouting and all this, the producer's getting money too. Like we demand that there's some money that goes to the company for us to get attached to a project and put it together. And it might take time, might not be for your first few movies, but I think the expectations that producer will get paid last. And I think it's up to us also as producers to demand that. Because like if we're all come to the table demanding the same thing, no one can really squeeze us. So I'm unhappy that there's ability now that is demanding healthcare for producers and certain standards that I think are really negotiable, that whoever is more desperate, I can play was just it sucks because they play us against each other at some point. So I think again, like find and learn how to do the things that you don't know. I'm venturing on how the people, because as a producer, it's not always on me, right? Like we have a director and you are asserting his vision. And it's so unpredictable because it's a collaborative art. You can start with a great script and end up with a shoehorn. Really, like we're making backs that sometimes we think it's a no-brainer.
and the movie is not doing well. And sometimes we're making bets on things that like the script might not be there, or we're betting on director, we're betting on an actor, we're betting on a subject matter. And we make sure we hire everyone around the director to support the overall vision, to make sure to whatever comes out at the end, the final product is strong and undeniable. Because at the end, even if you don't have cast, if you have something great, the market cannot. It's up to when it's undeniable and sound will bite. And you see it with Cecil, is the hell say that? Don't fuck up the title. But now there's making it a second one. And like that movie, it's like kind of betting against all odds. It's such a like, wow, that really like a whole lot of money to bounce up this. And if it came to me as a financier, the producer, I probably wouldn't have looked at it. But it's kind of echo to know there's things out there that will break through that are not fitting into this. It's a very small model of that checkbox of the talent to the genre. And, so it's helpful for filmmakers to know that their stories can be, be made, even though they're following like what everyone else is doing. So I think that's the time to really innovate and lay new things out there that stand out. And, and fight for, we fight for ourselves at the end. So, and we go through the same fight. Entry most to the person, at least I knew it all. Straight, just want to say girl power, yay. The fact that it's all women is pretty awesome. What about self-distribution? Because it sounds like you guys all have either studios or an streamer. They get to use self-distribute. I'm just curious about self-distribution in terms of the future at Tubi or Amazon, or I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I would say that I'm in the beginning stage of this conversation on one of my projects. I think it's very nascent. I think it's very real. I think particularly in the U.S., which I have the most expertise on, you're starting to see the larger theater chains take this more and more seriously. So my advice on that is I would absolutely keep that open as a real steep possibility for moving forward. It really will depend on the people and you. It's not the kind of thing they're going to do like archive or, little tiny babies. It's going to need to be something that so clearly has an audience, like a concert movie, for example, which is a big example of that recently, or Sounds of Freedom, which is self-distributed faith-based film that made $184 million domestic in the U.S. When they had no actual distributor on the town, they did themselves. So those are two examples. Like Taylor Swift's Eras Tour documentary and Sounds of Freedom are very, very specific kinds of content that have a very clear audience. Personally, so I would say that for me, I'm taking it very seriously. But it's very early days, but I think you're going to start to see more and more.
I worked with several filmmakers who've used like the Fathom meds and really gotten to kick off with the theatrical again to prove that there is an audience and that in the per year of some of the songs certainly starting to not step a way to go. And again, if you did and I'm not assuming the documentary, if you've got a film that has a cause, whether it's raise awareness to adoption, foster care, domestic violence, Alzheimer's, whatever it is, that you already you have many organizations that some have millions of members that are already engaged, want to see it. Like a filmmaker wrote the Gloria Gaynor documentary is a great example. They literally pitched theater citizen halls that they was in because that was the era of Gloria Gaynor. It got great traction, and they also released it on a Fathom on the day before Valentine's Day, Valentine's Day. Ocean, I got into sororities, and that was all the brilliance of the director going, all right, this is how they self-distribute that to our audience. And now she has distribution because she was able to kind of show that there's something there. So he's actually a big creative.
I will say though, because we actually represent the Gloria Gaynor documentary, and I've done a number of I've seen a number of my clients go through this process. The ones that are successful, it's a full-time job. So you have to be prepared to spend that time and effort. When that's fine if you want to do it, but I think don't go in blind to that.
My question to you is navigating the self-enhanced world. And y'all know that I think to partner up or to sell agent as to me without the topic in level again, it's hard like looking and shopping around the sales agent. For that contain sales agents, they're on board with an MD and sometimes they want to do first to look whites like the refusal. So I just want to make sure like how do you protect your film and your budget so that in the end when you show the first images they don't pull out and let you down and now you're stuck with those sales agents, because I heard that there were some stuff like that going on. Okay, so a few things. You mean if they offer you energy early on, or like not like so you will shop around for sales agent if they're interested in the project, you sign with you for $200,000 international energy, and they say they have the right to use over that, and they see the images, and sometimes we do that, but when they see the images, we drop you, and now you start with an empty 200K. Gotta go to the lawyer. I know how it's just a negotiate what. Cause first of all, I would say about MGs, because from my experience, when you get an MG, you're totally attractive. So sometimes they've used so crucial for your finance plan, because otherwise you can't really get the financing or to get it to him brilliant. But don't jump in because someone is willing to give you a little bit of money because you're not going to see much later on. And that's a tricky part about this business, right? At the end, it's a business. And if the sales agent, they want make money, they need to in their company. A lot of the time, they get up marketing and their sales speed, and you don't see much for that. I've been in those scenarios as well. So, yeah, I would put yourself as a producer in that situation that someone gives you $200 grand as an NG and is not responsible for it, and then you go take a loan for that NG, and that probably would be hard unless you find like an independent finance gear that will do it. But if you go in cash flow that NG and then they drop you, that NG is worth nothing. I won't put you in that position because I'll definitely make sure that if you come into it, they're supposed to be your partners in the end, right? They need to be in it as well as you are. So I think it's the SNA is so important. And so is it rare that in the contracts of being like that is like the right mysterious or still contracting issues? I would ever. I never like still with that. You should have an attorney that would think this with that. Yeah. Okay. That is a real phrase I've heard of Ghosting. And also I'd say like, let's just say that in the scenario. I think you need to do your due diligence and say, well, how are you back? Who's backing you? Where is your money coming from? How can we that around? Because a lot of it's hot sales and that might have those finances back where it might be their own money, but it might be the daily investors in there. And there's been many over time where, you know, the investor pulled out, you know, whatever reason, now they're left with nothing, which is why they're so frustrating that. So asking those questions.
Don't be thinking, wow, boy.
Hi, so you all briefly mentioned about theatrical releases and self-distribution. Do you think now with the opposite of streaming and do you think it's getting harder, cheaping the recommendations? Do you think that there's going to be less theatrical releases, like unless you're like a big blockbuster or as you're starting to take a big rest? Do you think it's mostly going to be, do you think streaming is going to kind of become the new theatrical release? Who's like, son? I see it's already becoming more and more like what we see, but it's tricky because I think if we go honest, for what sound represent you, few options for distributors when you show your ability. As a producers, I didn't think I had this say multiple times with my art director or financier, and like, do you think a high enough number that gives your investors their money back? You can really be as particular if you go for theatrical or streamer, because it's so rare to get a sale that will cover your budget and get your investors out. Yes, you're really lucky if you have options on the table. And even though I believe it's theatrical model because we're seeing more and more people going back to theaters and watching movies. And I think it really depends who's your partner. Not every movie should be a theatrical release. I had a movie that played Sundance with a really good screen coming, and it was like 1,000 screens with like a small P&A. But the movie got buried because our partner in that movie didn't really accept the word that he of nail and in the right way. So yeah, sometimes it can be really great that you have like 1,000 screens, but if no one's gonna see it, they're gonna pull it out after 2 weeks, or they're releasing it in a weird date that no one's gonna go see movies, or you're talking with a cheer to movie other zones. Yeah, you let it for 2 weeks, but that heck, no one really seen it, and you go lose, you're not gonna make any money. But I will also say that foreign is still dependent on theatrical commitment. Like, we had a movie last year that our numbers, it's the best numbers in porn. You really needed a theatrical commitment. And we ended up going with a distributor that gave us a theatrical release, but didn't give us any NMP up front. And that movie did not get any money. And that was not a good deal. So, yes, it was a established distributor that was right to the movie. But if they don't give you any upfront money, that usually should raise question of like, maybe you're not really thinking it. So, there's a lot of follow-up questions, seeing it that it's not always about like a theatrical or streaming. There's so many demand and then in those deals that should be looked into. And those deals are so complicated too. If you're looking into your distribution contract, there's so much fine print of like the splits and like that. You need attorneys to like really be very due diligence with those contracts. So would you say there are really any benefits besides staying that you had for a young filmmaker who isn't established, like Ward Miller or whoever, to have a theatrical release besides just being able to say, I've had a theatrical release? Or do you think it's too much of a risk and you might as well just stream or sell just try to do?
I think it's very dependent on the film. I did on a film that's actually created here 2 years ago in that sort of art section called Joyland. And that movie's had more art house feel. It's a very specific market. And that was a first time director, first time producer. And I think that like they ended up doing a theatrical that did really well for it. And we're seeing overages and we're seeing money coming in. And so I think that's one where it's not always people probably looking up and be like, that's a great theatrical movie, but it just can't this right week boss instead of.
Oh, so sad, because I remember I was sitting with a producer. I don't mention certain movies because like it's committed to house that I'm sharing because it's important because they came out of the Sundance, had a huge MG Oscar on the table from a streamer. But the director really wanted a theatrical. It was the first movie. But they offered her a lot of money to go the streamed route. And their producers were like, take the money. This is your first movie. You're going to get a theatrical. But, later on for your next films, they'd sort of take the money and put it behind your company, but not like finding those products that you want. So she was so married to the idea of theatrical, but still for directors, right? Like we all want to be that movie that has, big forts and playouts and all over the world. But for us, even like May, December, it ended up with Netflix. And I think that movie wouldn't have got as much of attention and the award campaign it did without Netflix. They really believed in the movie was the right partner for us. I think for me, as Tiffany's financier, maybe our director or other part happy funny, but that's my personal experience. But they were a great turn for us. And that was initially we thought we go play and have a theatrical release because that's our power can attract and bring seats, audience in the seat to theaters. But it ended up being a really positive experience. So I don't think there's right or wrong these days. It's hard times, and whoever pays you real money out and believe in the movie and has maybe we talk about innovation a little bit, but has a smart also way of delivering it to an audience. I think so many movies get lost because they're not marketed the right way. If any distributor here says, I really think we need to reinvent like some of these marketing approaches to film. I think social media pathogen crashes all the way. I think we need to utilize marketing in a really new way, because after audiences consume, film and odds and like in such a different way that you are and I am, and you need to craft that as well. Like they put forth in a really good job at Paxtra, about how to build this audience that is so loyal and trucks them with their and will do their delivering. And I think not all studios have cracked that yet. So I don't know. I will stay tuned. So they haven't not had shades. So other thoughts and everything and then and you got that appetite.
Or fingers?
I make a case in my case. It needs to do. I think it's what just laugh. Theatrical for changes. If add, and in that case, if that is a more vegetarian, about it, the is going to the set. Well, I need it a lot of it.